Hey everybody, and today I'm with my buddy Tsuki. We are here with the revival of Codec calls. This was a podcast that I did previously, and my buddy decided he was going to join me and become my co-host, and we were going to bring some new light to it and do it even better than it was before. So, Suki, do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, man?
Yeah, sure, why not? So my name is Tsukiyomi 92 on all my socials and all that good stuff. I'm a mental health variety streamer, so I do a lot of like real talk stuff, talk about personal things that I've been through, talk to people about things that they're going through, and maybe how they can approach those things differently and get a little bit of perspective. And yeah, just streaming and now doing a podcast with you. Thanks for having me.
All right, no, man, I'm glad that you're here, and definitely make sure you check out Suki. I will have his Twitch link in the description, so please make sure you check him out. He's a great dude, and I mean, you're playing what Final Fantasy right now, and what else?
Mostly Final Fantasy 14 and Smite. Tsukiyomi is actually coming out on the 11th of August for Smite, so I'm kind of getting ready, kind of playing a little bit, getting my skills together and figuring out how to play the game. I've only played it very sparingly over the years, but with my namesake coming out, I mean, I gotta figure it out,
You
you know
kind
what
of
I mean?
got to, right?
Yeah, I'm required at that point. And I quit playing WoW and all other Blizzard games a while back. So I'm kind of in a position looking for a new MMO, and I've kind of fallen on Final Fantasy 14. I've been having a lot of fun with it so far.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I really enjoyed 14 when I played it back in the day, and I kind of fell out of it and regret it because I've heard the newest expansion is like nothing but phenomenal. So it's been kind of wanting
Oh
me to
yeah.
get back into it, but yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm working my way up there. I'm still working on the old content. My Black Mage is only level 64, so I've still got quite a bit to do before I catch up to the current content, but there is another content drop coming on the 11th as well. So I'm juggling these two games and keeping pretty busy.
it sounds like it, man. Well, I mean, speaking of games, that's one of the reasons why we're here is we're going to be talking about the Xbox game showcase that happened not even what a week ago. They did that. They announced a bunch of new stuff, showed a bunch of new stuff. I mean, I think there were some pretty big heavy hitters, like of course Halo Infinite. You watched the showcase. Like, what do you think about the twice or larger than the past two Halos combined? Like, what are you thinking? Like, do you think it's going to live up to that hype? I mean,
I'm not really sure because I watched the IGN version, so I watched a little bit of info before and after when they were doing the discussion, and Um, the idea that I get is essentially that it's gonna be the ring is kind of gonna be cut up into bits, so that you have to get through one area to go to the next. But your ability to go back is really what makes it open world. You're not like stuck in that section. Once you've fixed the portion of the ring that was broken or bridged the gap somehow, you're gonna have the opportunity to be able to go back to those areas, look for collectibles, look for new areas that maybe you didn't have the ability to explore previously because maybe you pick up a new ability. I mean, two words first off is grappling hook.
yes, grappling
Hello.
hook. Oh my gosh.
Grappling hook. Like that, you know what I mean? I mean, just imagine all of the opportunities you're gonna have to explore different areas that you've already been through, but maybe couldn't reach. But now you have a grappling hook, and that's just the coolest thing in the world to me, honestly. It's my favorite part by far about it. So,
Anytime a game adds a grappling hook, I'm all about it. Like for instance, I'm really excited for the new Shadow Warrior 3, and they give you a grappling hook in it, and you're supposed to be able to like swing from trees and stuff, and it looks amazing. Um, I'm not gonna lie,
every
like
every every game needs a grappling hook. Okay, I'm just
Doom,
gonna state that right now.
Doom Eternal added a grappling hook. Best freaking addition, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, grappling hooks for the win. I feel like Legend of Zelda kind of like instilled that in me, though. I'm not gonna lie, with the hook
Yeah,
shot.
yeah, for sure. And before we do get into the games for the showcase, I do want to express something that I thought was actually really interesting. Both the intro and about halfway through when they were doing or throughout the showcase, they had Alan Watts playing portions of his speeches as the ambiance music to get you like kind of hyped up. And I thought that was really interesting. He's a British like speaker and writer, and he does a lot of philosophy, and he has a huge like discography of content. And then he's been dead for like 40 years now, so it's really interesting to see. I really want to know who chose that first off, and I want to give them a big pat on the back because it was definitely one of my favorite parts about the showcase as a whole.
I mean, you were telling me a little bit about him, before this, and it sounds like it was a really awesome pick for, like you
Yeah.
said, getting people hype and like kind of into the mindset of what they are trying to bring to the table.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, he actually he's known for popularizing like Buddhism, Taoism, and Hinduism in the West. So he actually, he had a huge effect on history and on just overall like moral structures and stuff like that. So it's really interesting and really cool that they did that, and I really enjoyed it. And hopefully, hearing this, some of you guys at home will look him up and listen to some of his speeches because they're top quality for sure.
well, I know I'm going to be getting you to send me some of his stuff once we're done recording so I can check it out because you've got me interested. And I mean, I want to know more about this guy. So,
Yeah, I'll definitely have to do that.
so kind of you mentioned, you talk about, mental health and stuff like that. And there's actually a
Mhm.
game they talked about during the showcase that,
Oh yeah,
you know where I'm going with this, Hellblade
yes,
2.
yeah. So I haven't played the first one. I heard a lot of good things about the first one, and I never got the opportunity to play it. But going into the showcase and seeing the trailer, well, I mean, most of us have probably seen the trailer before, but seeing it again reminded me, and it makes me definitely want to go back and play the first one so I can be ready for Hellblade 2. Anything that goes into like the psychological area, like I really enjoy psychological horror games. I enjoy those things that really represent um, mental health in general and talk about really deep subjects that
Mm.
allow people to kind of like normalize the conversation and experience it in a way that's safe for, you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
obviously, to go into the mind of a schizophrenic or someone going through a psychosis, it would be a very scary thing to do, in real life. But having that video game that allows you to understand and empathize a little bit with a character who's gone through a lot of deeply traumatic things in their life, and then go through this whole like series of gameplay that really just kind of embodies what going through that psychosis is. And I think that being able to be empathetic to the her as a character allows you to kind of be empathetic to people in general that suffer from mental health, and I think that's something that's really important these days.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. And like you said, I mean, it I've heard nothing but amazing things about the first game. I haven't had a chance to play it myself either. So I'm in the same boat as you. But I've heard all it does is bring light and make knowledge more available to people about different, things going on with people. And I think that it's a very hard thing to do. And I think they do a great job at doing it from what I understand. I mean, even the soundtrack and stuff like that was pick specific. Obviously, most games pick scores for certain scenes, but this is like a whole nother level from my understanding, like the depthness they went into picking what they did for what parts and stuff like that. So I'm assuming they're going to be doing the same thing with the second one.
No doubt. Yeah, I think one of the big things is, I mean, it's literally a fight through hell.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally a fight through hell. So it's very symbolic all the way through. Having voices in her head and losing her loved one and all of the trauma and difficulty that comes from that. Like it's an incredible story, and I can't wait to play the second one. And I'll leave it as that.
Yeah, same here. So I'm gonna have to play the first one before I play the second one, but I am very excited to play it, and it is Xbox Series X and Windows PC release, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty awesome. Um, Another game that really piqued my interest was the Medium.
Oh, the medium. Okay,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
was. I'm sorry that like it for some reason. Okay, so it's a dual reality gameplay. It's two worlds rendered simultaneously, and you're this chick who looks like she's going to an asylum or a hospital to investigate a murder.
I thought it was Silent Hill, honestly.
See,
I
that's the
I,
vibe
I
it gave me
100%.
too.
Yeah, I 100% thought that was Silent Hill. I was waiting to see the pyramid head chasing her at the end, and then we didn't end up getting to see that. But
There was definitely
yeah,
something
it's pretty
chasing her
interesting.
though.
Yeah, she was trying to get away from something for sure.
But I'm, a avid horror fan. I've played the Resident Evils, all of them, and I've played the majority of the Silent Hills except for the one they did on like the Wii and the PSP, Shattered Memory, I think it was, or something like that. Um, no, Shattered Memories was the one on the Vita. I did play that one. But the one they did on the Wii, I did not play because you ran around with a flashlight, and I just didn't have a Wii for that long, so I didn't play that one. But I love those types of games, and that like really drew me in with how it was the world, and then how it was like in the opposite. I don't want to say the upside down because I feel like that could be copyrighted. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, it looked really good. Now going back to Tell Me Why, that one's by Don't Nod, and it is very similar to Life is Strange. Brother and sister reunite after years of being separated, figuring out a travesty that happened when they were kids. And when they see something emotional, they will see a vision that happened in the past. So it really does remind me of like Life is Strange, especially more of like the first one where you could go back in time and stuff after something happened. It reminded me a lot of that. Um,
Right. Yeah, I definitely got those vibes for sure. And it seems really, I mean, it's got that same art style. It's nice and clean, more or less like, cartoony, but still got that level of like realism to it. And I think that just the whole idea in general is really interesting. I mean, they went through a trauma. This is kind of touches into the mental health area as well. So it's like
yeah,
they go through the trauma together, and then they have those flashbacks. It's almost reminiscent of like like PTSD to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Seeing these things that happen in the past and how they correlate with whatever they're seeing in the present, and using that as a tool to kind of do some detective work is I think really interesting, and I think it'll be a lot of fun when it comes out. Definitely gonna play it for sure.
so kind of going back to As Dusk Falls and kind of the brother sister dynamic as well. That's an interactive drama, same as the game we were just talking about there. Tell Me Why. And it spans 30 years in the American Southwest, according to the devs. It's a story about sacrifice, family, and resilience, but most of all, how you will shape the fate of real flawed people trying to find their way in a world they don't fit in. I didn't.
Yeah.
I kind of got that vibe from the trailer, but
Hmm.
at the same time, it almost felt like a family vacation that went awry, and they like had to go into hiding for like you know 15, 20 years and like not talk to each other, and then it looks like the daughter decides to meet up with her brother, and kind of just like out of the blue, and that's kind of where they left it. So I'm kind of curious where that's going to pick up. um it's Interior Night, I believe, is the name of the studio, and I think this is their first game, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's an original game by them,
Interesting.
but
I have to honestly, I just have to give props to the art team. Like the clean, like still image shifting art, I think was it's really cool. And it's a almost graphic novelty the way that
yes,
it's not so much like a traditional game as much as it is a piece of art in of itself. You know what I mean? So I think that's one thing. I got to give a huge shout out to the art team on that one because that was something that I felt was, it's not like it hasn't been done before, but I think that the way they did it and the art style that they did it in looks really clean and really good, and I think that it's just really beautiful, and it's something that I'm definitely going to appreciate during my playthrough.
Yeah, and I think interactive narrative games or interactive dramas have kind of really come to a light here recently, and a lot more people have kind
Mhm.
of like gotten into playing them. A lot more people have started playing like the Telltale games as well here recently, and I mean, there's been a
Mhm.
lot of games that have come out that are like that, and I think it's great that people are giving them a chance because I feel like at one point people didn't give them a chance. You know, they were like, I can just watch a TV show. This is just so much different. It almost reminds me of one of those old choose your own adventure books, man. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
just
very goosebump, very choose your own adventure goosebumps esque.
yeah, like it kind of hits home for me. And I love playing those types of games, and all of their stories are so different that I obviously get a different experience every time I play a new game of that genre. But it's so hard to kind of you can only have so many choices in a game like that, you know. But or at least that's what I thought when I started playing them, and that's not the case. You know, I mean, it really opens your mind to just I don't know, man. It's just really cool. It's really cool. It's really different. I like playing those types of games when I don't want to sit there and go pew pew and Call of Duty. You know, I just want a story.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's definitely, I mean, it's like opening up a good book, but being able to be a part of it versus, be a part of it and be immersed in it in a way without having to necessarily use your imagination. You can just appreciate the visuals that they give you. And I think that it definitely as a genre, it's getting more popular, and it's all for the better. They're just gonna make more high quality games that kind of scratch that itch.
That was exactly what I was trying to say.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah, we're on the exact same page with that, man, because that was what I was trying to say, but I couldn't find the words, but you could, and I appreciate it, man, because I was struggling there.
I got your back. It's all good.
So, kind of like, you were talking about that art style of that game, kind of shifting gears a little bit, still staying on the art track, but Ori and the Will of the Wisp. They're doing an Xbox Series X version that's supposed to be 120 frames per second, which it's currently at 60 frames per second on Xbox One, and it's supposed to
Uh-huh.
be at 4K. So,
Very interesting. I
yes.
Ori has a special place in my heart. This is actually one of the games that I streamed, and I streamed it 100%. So I basically got everything that was available in the game, in the original, I should say. I got everything in the game. I did it. I did it all live, and I died 333 times
Oh.
exactly. So I don't know. I don't know if that's like a curse. I don't know if I'm cursed because I did that or not. But I really, really enjoyed the game. As far as platformers go, it's probably by far one of my favorite. I actually just recently started playing Hollow Knight, so that's like,
Oh.
they're kind of contending. I mean, I find Hollow Knight pretty difficult, as I'm not used to playing those types of games. But it really reminds me of Ori, and I truly just enjoyed Ori so much. I played that game not even close to the right order that you were supposed to play it in, and once I found out after the fact, it only made it that much cooler. So being able to play not only the next in line, but also play it in 4K, I'm I, I'm extremely excited. And they had mentioned something about you being able to play it like the way you want, which is, I don't know, it could mean a couple of different things, but I think that will be. I think that it's gonna be a hit for sure, and all of
Oh
the
yeah.
Ori fans out there are just gonna love. It's nothing but good, nothing but positive,
Yeah, I've
as
not
far
heard
as I'm.
anybody say they don't like Ori that have played it. Like everybody who's played it has
Yeah,
thoroughly enjoyed that game series. And I mean, if you want to take that and you want to make it even better, by all means do it. Like we want it, you know?
right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, also the audio. I've noted the music in the first one was, very gripping, and it was very, it was very intended. You know what I mean? Like they picked everything, and they picked all the scores and everything really, um, to custom fit the game. And I think that it having premium audio and being revamped in a way that'll only make it a better experience, I think is just all the more welcome.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely. And so I'm going to kind of still on the art subject, but Grounded. Did you see the Grounded trailer where you're like the little
Oh
tiny
yeah.
like person in the backyard?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think it's one of those things like I've always really enjoyed survival games and I've enjoyed building and crafting games. And you know, I like having the option to do either or. So playing games like Ark have always interests me and other types of survival games kind of makes me think of uh, what's the like Tim Burton
Like
what's
claymation.
the Tim Burton art-ish survival game that you can play with people? It's like all 2D.
Oh, oh,
Uh,
oh, Don't Starve. Don't Starve.
Don't Starve. There we go. I don't know why that wasn't coming to my brain, but games like that I thought were really interesting. So, you know, being able to play in your backyard against all of the ants and different, you know, bugs that are there, and to be able to build a base and to be able to craft animals, craft armor and weapons, and just kind of survive sounds fun to me. I was super hyped when I saw them using bows because pretty much every game I play that has a bow in it, I'm quick to grab a bow as my weapon. So it'll
It
be
also
interesting to see how it goes, and I'm excited.
it also looked like he was dual wielding at one point. I think I saw
Hmm.
in that trailer, which I think is pretty cool. Like I'm glad there's a lot more games that offer dual wielding. I don't know why, but I feel like that was such like an obscure thing, like not even 10 years ago. I
Right.
mean, and it's
Well, I mean,
kind
you
of
got
become
like
the norm
Baldur's
now.
Gate. You got to think like I mean, there are some games that featured it. I mean, you think of like Baldur's Gate and having Dritz or whatever once you finish the game, and you're able to unlock that like special playthrough with with that type of character or whatever, and he was able to dual wield. But outside of that, like RPG genre where it was like natural, you know what I mean, coming off of like D&D type stuff.
Yeah.
But seeing it inside other games that aren't necessarily in that RPG space, I definitely agree with you, and it's really cool and refreshing to see it be a possibility in another game.
Which I mean, now that you say that, it makes sense, because Obsidian makes a lot of RPGs that we know. Um,
Uh huh.
so and they're the ones who are doing Grounded. So I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense now that I'm thinking about it. That you mentioned it that way. I mean, but
Yeah, it was even something that they said. They're like, I can't remember the exact verbiage of it, but it was like we've made tons of games that you like, and this one's nothing like any of those,
I think,
but
yeah,
it should still be good. You know, it should still be awesome, and you'll enjoy it. So
I
I thought
think
that
the,
was
I think the
really
quote
cool.
was by the makers of games nothing like this.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Which, by the way, if anybody who's listening is interested in Grounded, which you should be, I cannot stress this enough. They are doing an Xbox game preview and Steam Early Access, and that'll be available starting July 28th. So make sure you check that out because it looks like it's going to be awesome, and it's Obsidian. So I normally give Obsidian my money.
Right.
um, Kind of saying on the Obsidian track there, it says they showed their next big RPG, as they put it. Avowed.
Hmm.
There was a couple key words in that trailer that kind of piqued my interest a little bit. One of them was turned heroes into kings and queens, and then at the very end it says is an oath worth the weight of a crown.
Mm.
So I'm wondering, do you are you this hero that makes a deal to get power to become a king or a queen and that kind of goes awry?
It's got to come at some cost, right?
Yeah, it's got to, right? Like I mean, really that trailer only showed an arrow going into a cave a long ass distance away.
Yeah, and obliterating that skeleton on its way. Once
Yeah,
knocked straight through that skeleton, which was super fun. I thought it was gonna stop there, but then I was like, oh, it's still going, and then it goes into that huge like crevice in the ground, and then lights up, right in front of the player character or whatever. And
which was
I
also
what
dual
I
wielding.
Right. What's awesome about that is I mean, it's been a long time since we've had a Skyrim-esque, the situation, and being able to dual wield the magic in one hand and the sword in the other gives a lot of like, I don't know, it really makes me hyped to have that like um melee first person type game, you know what I
Yes.
mean, and be able to have both magic and sword play involved in that. So it's going to be pretty awesome. And it's built around the new Xbox hardware. So
Yes, it's
even better on top of that, it's made specifically for it. So you know that it's going to push the limits of it, and they're prepared to really give us as much quality as we can possibly get from that from the new Xbox.
oh yes, for sure. And just to let y'all know, we are going to be touching on the specs of the new systems here in a little bit, so make sure you hang tight and check that out because we're going to be breaking down exactly what's in what system. But yeah, you'll definitely want to check that out if you haven't heard what the details are yet. We're going to be diving into that as well. So there was a claim during that avowed. I think it was right before they showed the trailer. There was a claim that this game is going to be Obsidian at its best.
It's a pretty high bar.
That is a really high bar. I mean, we're talking about the people who did the original Fallouts. We're talking about the people who did the Outer Worlds. We're talking about the people who did New Vegas. I, I mean, that's a high bar, man. Like New Vegas, I know is some people's favorite Fallout of all time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're
Speaking of that, how did you feel about the Outer Worlds?
oh that new DLC, man.
The new DLC, yeah, Parallel
Par-
Gorgon.
yeah, yeah, man. So new story, new weapons, available on September 9th. And I believe it's part of Game Pass, if I'm not mistaken. If you have Game Pass, then you get that DLC for free because the Outer Worlds is part of Xbox Game Pass. So I feel like they're just giving you an awesome game plus awesome DLC. Like, just here you go,
Right.
enjoy. Like, I'm
Not that
pretty
often
excited
that you
for it.
get cool stuff for free.
Exactly, right? Like, I
Mhm.
mean, it doesn't happen very often, but Xbox has actually been doing that. Like, all the games that we're talking about that are part of the showcase, if you don't know, are actually part of Game Pass. So when they launch, if you have Game Pass, you get them for free.
Yeah,
Like,
it's incredible how much value they're packing into Game Pass. I actually didn't even know much about Game Pass until recently, and I signed up for it or whatever so that I could play certain games on PC. Because I mean, I've always done most of my Microsoft gaming on PC because most of the games are on either or. But seeing what was available on Game Pass and then putting just going down the list and seeing what's available right off the bat for free, I was like,
so
oh, well,
much.
I'm definitely missing out on a lot here. So it's very exciting to get that, and I'm gonna keep that rolling for quite a while, at least till I can enjoy all of these games.
And the cool thing is I think it's like the first 30, 60, 90 days, something like that. It's the first little bit that the game is added to Game Pass. You can buy it and the DLC at a discount.
Oh, nice.
So you can just own it. If you really like that game, you don't have to worry about them taking it off of Game Pass. You can literally just buy it and they normally give you a discount like within the first little bit. Like that's super cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's a really good strategy for giving people the opportunity to try to play it and see how they feel about it, and then scoop it up for their future playthroughs without having to run that risk of it not being available for free anymore.
So Everwild, kind of shifting gears. Everwild, new game by
Beautiful,
Rare. Looks
beautiful
beautiful,
game.
yes. I want to know more. I want to know a lot more. It's piqued my interest. I literally watched
Okay.
a fish spit fish into a pond. Like,
Well, so my thought process on that is, I mean, it really seems like you're able to control the animals, so that it almost seems like the person went fishing using that bigger fish. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's really interesting because there are a lot of parts where the animals are working with the humans, and it almost seems like the humans are using
there's definitely a
some sort of,
spiritual connection.
yeah, spiritual connection, yeah, to get that stuff done. So it's really interesting. I mean, I love druids in general. I think all that kind of stuff is really neat. So seeing seeing the player be able to potentially control animals seems like a really fun idea, and it's kind of a different take. I'd played a game recently, I can't remember the name of it now, where you'd actually collect, like, you could have up to like 4 animals on you, and each one had a different fighting capability or ability, and
It wasn't Ooblets,
what it
was
could
it?
do in combat. No, I don't think so. I'll have to look it up later because I played it for a very short period of time, but it was one of the first things that it reminded me of, and it was a while ago. But being able to use them in a constructive way makes me wonder if we're going to be able to use them in, combat or something outside of that, just building and creating.
Well, there was at the end of that trailer they showed what looked like not a sacrifice, but it looked like they were burying
Bringing it
paint.
back to life. They
Yeah,
brought that. You talk about the little fawn that they had brought to the altar and resuscitated, right?
yeah, but it
Yeah,
became this giant spirit animal. Like the spirit of that animal was way more massive than I ever could have imagined them portraying it to be. And I want to know, like, I guess is
yeah, because I couldn't tell if they were invoking that spirit to the giant like spirit in the sky. I couldn't tell if they were like communing with that spirit to use that spiritual connection to revive the fawn, or if that was actually some semblance of the fawn in spirit form.
yeah, like I'm not. I want to know more information about this game. Y'all are giving me a
Oh
bunch
yeah.
of teases, and I want more. I mean, you did your job well because I'm fiending for it. I want to know.
Right. Yeah, I definitely have to agree. And the art style is simplistic but beautiful, and I think the way that they went about it allows them to do a lot, but especially with the power behind the Xbox X Series. Like I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see how much they fit in areas with the art style being simple but still being beautiful. I think that will be a really interesting thing to see how open the world will be and how much exploring you can do and how many barriers there are to zoning in the game.
Oh yeah, no, I'm excited to see what the Xbox Series X can bring to the table, man. I really am. Like it looks like it's gonna be a big overhaul from the Xbox One, and I mean both consoles. And like I said, we'll get into this more in depth later. But I mean both consoles look like they are making big overhauls, and it is going to really benefit the players. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah. I
so,
mean, they're competing with computers now. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And it's good. The faster and stronger our computer builds get, the more that lights a fire under the butts of Xbox and PlayStation and pushes them to perform as well, if not better than what most people's PCs can provide. And I think that's the big thing is it's not so much whether a computer is better than the Xbox or the PlayStation. It's the fact that the Xbox and the PlayStation will be better than the majority of what people's computers are capable of.
yeah. Like
At
to
some,
the common like
yeah,
consumer. I mean, even me, I use a laptop that's got like an i3 eighth gen processor in it. I mean, it ain't nothing. It ain't nothing really. I can't run half the games I'd like to on it. That's why I have a console. Is I can buy it and I'm good.
yeah, and you don't have to worry about troubleshooting issues or making sure that your drivers are up to date or having to lower the graphics down just to be able to run it more smoothly or anything like that. It's the games are going to be made with the limits in mind, and they're going to perform ideally perfectly in their own right.
Yeah, exactly. So real quick, just one thing I wanted to touch on. Jack Black is back.
Yeah,
Psychonauts 2.
yeah, I mean, a couple of my friends are diehard Psychonaut fans, and they're super stoked to hear that Psychonauts 2 is coming out. And I mean, I might even want to really get into it, considering the soundtrack's probably going to be really good with Jack
Oh,
Black
dude.
coming out of the gate swinging with that one.
Yeah, I'm hoping that. I mean, this is kind of just like, I guess, a personal hope, but I really hope they bring back Brutal Legend, man. Like I love Jack Black in that. He always does amazing characters, and he's the voice of the Mode of Light in Psychonauts 2.
Hmm.
So I mean, him, doing that amazing musical number. Like I mean, gosh, dude, just his voice is so amazing. Like he's Jack Black. I mean, he's on another level when it comes to music, in my opinion. He definitely is somebody who is in their own like
Yeah,
niche that nobody else
yeah.
can
His
touch.
It's crazy how good of a singer he is, uh, with what he's got. You know what I mean? He really has such a his own unique flavor, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just something that I think that no one can really deny. I mean, whether you like it or don't like it, but you have to give it the respect that it deserves for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I could not agree more. And I think he'll continue to do stuff, in games and just in general. Like I'm really hoping there's another Tenacious D album coming out soon, but we'll see. I'm not gonna hold my breath, but I can hope.
Right.
So, speaking of light and motes of light, Destiny 2 Beyond Light, November 10th is what I saw on this
Hmm.
showcase. Uh,
Yep.
they're going to be doing a enhanced version for the Series X, and it's going to be part of Game Pass this fall. Uh, Starting in September, you get access to all of the current expansions with Game Pass, and then Game Pass Ultimate members, get this, can play on mobile via xCloud. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's I've played a lot of Destiny 2. I've pretty much been a hardcore raider. I've played pretty much everything. I've done everything that you can do in Destiny 2 for the most part. I have taken a break for a while because it hasn't been there's been not really a content drought, but I don't play PvP as much, so there hasn't been as much for me to do. So I've taken a break from it. But I know that a lot of people, especially console users, are going to be super super hyped for the 60 frames per second.
yes.
That's been a huge point of contention for between PC and console players, and now with all of the new hardware, console players are going to be playing much more on the same footing as PC players. So I'm hoping that that actually really has like a positive effect on the community, and maybe stops some of the squibbling over whether PC or Xbox or PlayStation are better.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm going to put my 2 cents in real quick. To me, it doesn't matter what you play on because at the end of the day, we're all gamers and we all
Yeah.
enjoy games. Like, yes, PC is going to make things look better because of the graphics and stuff like that. But you know what? As long as you enjoy the game you're playing, man, that's what matters.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure. And I mean, to a certain extent, it's not even as much about that. It's as much as it is about the capabilities of certain guns and things like that. Running on higher frames, you're able to do certain things that you can't do on lower frames.
yes.
Or like you can abuse certain things because of having the extra frames, and there are a lot of different things that they've had to rein in and balance on PC because of that. So it's been interesting since it's made that switch over to being on PC as well.
Oh, yeah. So, something that I don't really think has a lot to do with frames per second. Like, I mean, I feel like you could run this game at 30 or 60 and you could still find it completely beautiful. Tetris Effect. I don't know if you've seen Tetris Effect because it's on PlayStation right now.
Hmm.
But they're coming out with what's called Tetris Effect Connected. And it has an optimized single player. So the single player that it has is going to be even more beautiful. And then it's going to have an all new multiplayer mode that looks like you basically share the screen with like three other people and your blocks drop simultaneously next to each other.
Yeah, it's kind of got that was it Tetris 99
Yeah,
vibe where you're playing against a bunch of or however many other people. And I don't know. I've never really been a big Tetris fan, but the just the effects and I mean it's Tetris effects, but just the
yeah,
overall visuals makes it so much more lively and so much more gripping and interesting to the general person. I think it might make a lot of people pick up Tetris for the first time if they haven't already been playing it, and those who've already been playing it will just get the opportunity to enjoy another solid version of it.
So it is on PS4, like I said, currently regular Tetris Effect, and then it's also on. I think it's on the HTC Vive. No, it's on the Oculus Quest, one of the two. But you can play it in VR. Like you can on PlayStation as well, but it really just kind of consumes you. To be honest with you, like you feel like you're there in the midst of like it's hard to explain, man. Like I mean, if you've played VR, you know what I mean. You kind of feel immersed, but this is to me a whole nother level. The board's kind of like surrounding you, almost like you're at a movie theater. You know, it's just it's something else, man. It really is, and I'm glad so many more people are going to be able to experience this version of Tetris because I do think it is probably one of the best versions that has ever been made, personally. And I play a lot of Tetris 99. Like I enjoy the hell out of that game. I'm also a Lumines like freak. I don't know if any of y'all have played Lumines, but it's puzzle style blocks. So it's yeah, I like that type of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing that I had thought really stood out was Forza
Yes.
in this series. I don't, I'm not really. I was really into like Need for Speed back in the day, but as they got more like realistic or less like kind of, you know what I mean? I don't know exactly how to express
It
that, but
kind of like
as they've gotten more.
went from like the street racing and customizing your car to the open worldness, and I feel like they
Yeah, and I
lost
think
something.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what that is for me or why I kind of lost interest in racing games in general. But one thing that I was able to really appreciate was the fact that it's like the realest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, and
Like
everything was
it's the
captured
most
in engine
realistic
too.
looking game, and it's yeah. I couldn't even I honestly couldn't even wrap my head around how, because I know it's a very popular series, but I just was never into it personally. So seeing it look the way it looked, I'm like, wow, like maybe I want to give that a shot and see what that looks like from a playing point of view, because I was really 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 blown away by that, and just the light effects and just how everything just I don't know. It's just
I felt like I was
really,
in that
really,
garage.
really well done. Yeah, for sure. I felt like I was standing right in front of that car when I was looking at it, and I was really impressed by that. And I'm definitely interested in at least seeing more gameplay and seeing how that does fully translate into to playing the game.
So something that obviously you've been playing Final Fantasy 14. So this is something that I feel like may kind of catch your interest a little bit more than maybe some of the other games we've talked about. Fantasy Star Online New Genesis,
Hmm?
brand new expansion for Fantasy Star Online 2. Um, it looks really solid, man. I'm not gonna lie. I've not had a chance to play Fantasy Star Online 2 yet. I don't have an Xbox currently, but it's kind of making me want to get it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's definitely really interesting. I mean, it's nice to see. It's nice to see more content. I know that there's plenty of stuff to do for people who are just getting into the game or anything like that. So, and expansion on top of that might seem daunting, but the game is just so fun to play from start to finish. And I've heard people just talk talk my ears off with how deeply they enjoy the game and how intricate and how much they enjoy the classes and how they're different and how they play different and just the overall world in general. Like it's just really nice to see love being poured into these games that have such a wide fan base.
And it's because if I understand correctly, it's been in Japan for
A
years.
hot minute. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a hot minute.
So, and we're just now getting it. I think it was this year or late last year we got it in the States on Xbox and PC. So the fact that they're doing a whole new expansion for this game that's been out for so long, man, is just, I mean, I don't want to say it's
Yeah, I mean
mind blowing, but I'm glad they're supporting it still.
yeah, it was popular enough for them to take the risk of bringing it over here. Enough people wanted to play it, and it popped off. It had a huge flood of players when it came over, and it's kind of what I was saying about it may be somewhat intimidating to have so much game to play and then for a new DLC to come out. But I think that there's enough time for people to kind of get to end game and experience the end game stuff so that they can, actually really, really appreciate the DLC when it drops.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, even if you are still grinding and you don't get to that DLC until way after it comes out, that just gives you even more to look forward to, and you'll have such, like you were saying, such a better grasp on the game by the time you get there that you can learn even more with this new expansion and enjoy something brand new. So I'm really
Yeah,
looking
agree.
forward to it. The gunk is something that I'm kind of intrigued or curious by. It, you're
Yeah,
right.
there wasn't really a lot of information. It was really just that trailer, I believe. I didn't see anything
I didn't really see
overly
much
about it.
either. It kind of looks like you're the beginning of the trailer. You land on this planet. I believe your character makes a comment like they're not sure if there's anything worth anything here. And then they see this gunk, and they're like, "Well, what's this?" Basically, and then it kind of just snowballs from there. It could be an alien planet. I don't know if you're like there harvesting or trying to save planets. The creatures that are there either seem like they were mutated by it, possibly
Mhm.
this gunk that's taken over the planet. And your arm weapon seems to absorb it, almost like a Splatoon vibe. Like I don't know if you shoot it back
Or
out
even
or what.
Luigi's Mansion kind
Yeah,
of was the first thing that I thought of. Splatoon 2, but I didn't. I thought of Luigi's Mansion. I'm like, all right, well, are we sucking up bad guys now, or yeah,
like
it made me wonder
Ghostbuster
because like
style.
you wonder how much fits in her backpack if that's a thing, and what's the point? You know what I mean? I want to
Super
know
Mario
where the gunk came
Sunshine.
from, right?
That's
I
what it
want to know where
reminded me
the
of.
yeah, for sure. I want to know whether it came from space or it came from like deep beneath the earth, and if that's something that matters or
Yeah, is it like
it'll
an
be really interesting.
oil or like what? What is this?
Right. Well, it's the gunk, obviously.
Exactly, the gunk. I mean, I don't know how I didn't see that. So they obviously did not show a whole lot. They kind of just said, "Hey, it's a thing," but I feel like we wouldn't be doing this right if we didn't at least mention it. Fable.
Hmm.
It's a thing. We know
I
that.
I'm super hyped for that title. I
I
played a
am too.
lot of Fable back in the day. It's just so I mean it was now you think about it now and it's almost simplistic, with its polarization of either being good or bad. And kind of just staying in the middle, I guess, is an option as well. But I think that it'll be really interesting to see how, what form the game takes from being refined and
Yeah,
how much, if anything, about the original game gets altered. It really because I think they said it was a reboot, right? So it's
I
not
believe
necessarily
so.
like
Yeah.
it's not necessarily like a remaster where it's just like the same thing but better. I feel like there are going to be some integral changes to it, and I'm really, really curious to see what those changes are because I think that it could definitely excite people and definitely piss people off because I think Fable
Some
fans are
diehard
definitely
fans.
hardcore. Yeah, they're definitely diehards. So, I mean, I'm sure they'll listen to them and they'll do their best. So I'm excited to see that for sure.
Oh yeah. So I think the last like game they really showed was the campaign for Crossfire.
Hmm.
Um, it kind of gave me like a Call of Duty Ghost vibe.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be I almost thought it was gonna be like a Ghost Recon almost like a
Yeah,
just an advanced Ghost Recon. I was because I wasn't sure. I hadn't seen it before, so it was really interesting.
I think
Um,
all they've shown is
definitely.
multiplayer before this game show or showcase, I believe. So this was like first look at campaign.
Yeah, it was really cool. I really liked the vibe that it gave me. They're definitely the type of shooter like I like to play. I want to be able to have a lot of options and possibilities, but also be able to kind of lurk around however I'd like.
Yeah, nah, I can totally agree, man. I totally agree. huge, hence my name, Metal Gear Solid fan. I'm all about that tactical stealth if I want to, or going loud and in your face if I'd like to. So I definitely feel you on that, man. Definitely. So one last thing about the showcase I want to mention is they did say that there would be free upgrades to the Xbox Series X for 3 games for sure, and one of them is Sea of Thieves, the other is Gears of War 5 or Gears 5, and then the other one is Forza Horizon 4, which I know you said you haven't played a lot of the Forza games. The Horizon series, if you're not familiar with it, is more arcadey than it is simulation.
Yeah, and I think that that's really the thing for me is I don't necessarily want to like drive around. It's because if I want to do that, I just go play GTA, right? Like, I
Yeah,
mean, if
yeah.
I want to drive cars in a world, I'd probably just pick up GTA 5 or whatever. But looking at having it be a little bit more like the old school like Need for Speed where you do the races and then you go to menu. You do the race and you go to menu. Like that's a little bit more interesting to me personally, and I think that being able to customize your vehicle and stuff makes that all the more exciting to do, and earning whatever currency it is through racing that you use to upgrade your stuff is really
Rep,
kind of what I can see
points,
myself
XP,
playing.
whatever they want to call it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I Need for Speed, man. I think the last one I played was Rivals, like hardcore. No, yeah, it was. And then when they did the Burnout Paradise remaster, I picked that up for like $5 just because Burnout's all about crashing into shit.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not really so much about control of the car as it is crashing into stuff, which is also fun. So
Right.
I guess that kind of wraps up the showcase portion of this. We're going to talk a little bit about the hands-on with the Dualsense for the PlayStation 5, which Dualsense, if you're unfamiliar with it, anybody who's listening, is the new controller for the PlayStation 5, and there's some people that have been a little skeptical about it because of how much. I don't want to say how much bigger it is versus the DualShock 4, but it definitely is a little bit bigger than the DualShock 4. It almost reminds me of a similar size to like the Xbox controller, or if you've seen the Astro C40, it reminds me
Isn't
of
that
that.
and I believe Xbox is going the exact opposite way, right? They're actually refining their new controller and making it's going to be designed to fit in more hands
Yeah,
um, instead. So I thought it was very interesting that they both have a different take on the new controllers.
yeah. Let me go ahead and make this clear real quick. They did say you can use your Xbox One controllers with the Series X. It just won't have all of the same bells and whistles as the new controllers will. So, just putting that out there in case anybody missed that piece of information a while back when they dropped it, that you can use your Xbox One controllers on the Series X with no issues. So,
Nice.
that's kind of nice because I feel like a lot of times we get these new consoles and stuff, and it's like, oh, we got to buy all new peripherals for everything. So much money, new games, new console.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
Speak,
lot.
yeah. Speaking of peripherals, the thing that I really like about the PS5 controller is the built-in mic. Like,
Yes,
hello.
I love
So
that.
now that's one less thing you have to worry about, and it's right there. It's in your hands, so it's not like you're gonna have to worry about, either having a headset in where it's like hard. If you have your headset or whatever, you could just have a regular studio headset that doesn't have the mic, but still have the mic available to you. Because I
I'm
use
hoping
like
it's noise canceling. That's my biggest concern is it noise canceling?
yeah, I mean that's a good question. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, because like now on PC we have things like RTX Voice and stuff like that that automatically, and Discord has their own version of noise canceling, or noise cancellation, I should say. So I would imagine that there's no way there's not, right?
I mean, it would
Everybody,
have to be, right? At least to some extent.
yeah. I mean, you're gonna have people are gonna have their kids around. People are gonna have, life goes on around you when you're playing a video game, and it sometimes you can't always control the noise pollution in your area. So hopefully that's the case. I can't imagine them not doing so, but only time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah. We'll have to wait until they release some more information about it, I guess. But those adaptive dynamic triggers that have the haptic
Oh my
feedback,
goodness.
man. Ooh.
As I like I said earlier, as a avid bow user, they had expressed that when you're using things like a bow or other weapons that like kind of have a drawstring to them, being able to feel that pull, even if it's just slightly, just sounds so satisfying to me
Yes.
on your trigger pulls. I'm really, really interested to see exactly what that feels like in my hands because I think that's going to definitely bring it to another level as someone who plays a lot of Archer characters in most games.
And even during that demo for the Astrobots that Jeff was playing, it looked like there was one point when you had the frog suit on that when you used the springs, you press the
Mm-hmm.
trigger down to kind of get the amount of, you know, oomph or momentum or tension or power
Yeah,
built
so like a
up.
half pull has a certain difference than a full pull or,
Which, I
an
mean, we
inch
kind
or
of have
anything.
that now, but this
Mm-hmm.
seems way more in depth. Like, it seems like when you pull that trigger, it like you feel it. You know, it's not just like I'm
Mm-hmm.
pulling a trigger. You know, I don't know. It's just you could I could kind of tell the difference in him playing from that. Like you could see kind of like I don't know. It's weird, but it's interesting to me, and I'm excited to see it. Also, the vibration on the controller is supposed to be not just on or off, but like there's supposed to be different like intensities of it. Um, so he was saying if you're going through sand, you kind of get that vibration of walking through sand or walking through snow. It's not just oh my controller is vibrating. Like
Yeah, it's actually a different vibe depending on what you're specifically doing in a more specific situation, case by case basis.
yeah, and of course, like you said, the microphone. There's also a new speaker, which is you're supposed to be able to hear things a lot better. It's not just going to be which if anybody has a PlayStation 4 right now that's listening, the speaker's just kind of on. It's just kind of there. With this, it seems like if you're farther off from something, you'll hear it quieter. Closer up on something, it'll be louder. Off to your side, you'll hear it from the left or the right, depending on which side they are to your character, etc. So, I mean, that seems pretty cool. I'm hoping a lot of developers utilize that because I think that is a cool premise that can be utilized really well if it is. So
Yeah, I agree 100%.
the touchpad is staying from the PlayStation 4, but it does seem to be a little bit more intuitive. Um,
And the lights move to the front of, instead of it being on the front of the controller, it's actually a line around it, which I think
yes,
is a pretty interesting choice. Maybe
I
it's less light overall, but maybe they can do more of like you can customize it maybe.
I'll
Be
be
kind of interesting.
honest. I love the light sensor in the PS4. I think it's great. I played Infamous Second Son. It changed with the color of spray paint you were using, your karma level. There's a bunch of other games that use it for like what your health is,
Hmm.
if you're hidden or not, or in the light with like Alien Isolation. I believe is one of the games that utilize that. But it
It's
makes no
interesting. I
sense in the
actually,
front. Like it makes no sense in the front of the controller. You can't see it. It's supposed to immerse you, but you can't see it.
yeah, I was just about to say, I don't think I have either not played a game that made use of it or have never noticed the fact that that's a thing because I did not know. I thought it was new.
Yeah. So
I
I
thought it was a
mean,
completely new thing.
now it's in the PS4 controllers. Now the newer style of the DualShocks, they actually have a little slit in the top of the touchpad. It's not a slit, but it's like a break in the
Uh-huh.
black color where you can see it versus the old school ones that just had it in the front. So I mean, they're trying. I guess that was kind of like their way of like feeling the market to see if that's something people would like. But I think that's something they should have had from the get go, man. Because like I said, it was made for immersion, but you couldn't be immersed because you couldn't see it. Like
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. So kind of going back to what we were talking about before with like PS4, Xbox, and PC, Eric Lempel, sorry. One of the things he said during his interview with Jeff was the controller is an extension of the player. And he was specifically talking about the Dualsense, but I think personally that's a statement that all of us as gamers can kind of agree upon, regardless of what we use, whether it's mouse and keyboard, PS4 controller, PS5 controller, Xbox controller. We want to feel that connection to the game with what we're doing, and our peripherals are definitely an extension of the gamer. There's a lot of people that have their preference on brand and stuff like that because that's what they feel comfortable with. That's what they like to use, and that's a big part of playing games is being comfortable with what you use.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that anything that helps immersion is all the better. I definitely think any opportunity that they as designers can take that adds to the experience is always a good thing. I mean, the more senses you're using while you play something or you go through something, it helps you get more into it. It helps you kind of feel like that danger or that excitement is real. You know what I mean? And allows you to really draw on your senses to immerse yourself into whatever it is that you're playing.
Yeah, and that's one thing that Eric kind of talked about with his interview as well was the pillars of the excuse me, of the pillars of the PlayStation 5. Better graphics, better sound. They're using a new 3D audio, which is supposed to be a new way of immersing you, no matter how you're playing the game or listening to the game. Like whether you're playing on a TV with a surround sound, with a headset, that new audio file type they're using is really supposed to just immerse you more. And then, of course, better graphics are kind of like a given with console generations. Every console generation is going to be better graphically. But then touch. There was there's a part in the Astrobots demo where Jeff literally had to blow on the touchpad, which is kind of weird, I'll be honest. I don't know if I'm going to be just wanting people to play games at my place that are just going to be blowing on my freaking DualSense.
Yeah, bring your own controller for sure, especially
Yeah.
with everything going on in the world.
Yeah.
You're definitely not blowing on my controller.
Yeah, no, that ain't me. No, you're gonna have to bring your own, man. And I definitely am not buying used. Like, that ain't me. But I think it does show a lot of how sensitive and like, how the touchpad receives that information of what you're doing. Because, right now it's just a swipe left, swipe right, press, you know. But the 3DS has utilized the breathing or blowing mechanic in a lot of games, and I think part of it has to do with the microphone. So I'm not sure if that plays into this as well, but I definitely think it does show an advancement and what they're trying to put in the technology of this controller.
Yeah, for sure. I'm all for any advancement as far as immersion goes. I think it only helps to increase the enjoyment of whatever game you're playing. Then there are a lot of games where, especially like you think of like horror games and scary games in general, that really thrive off of being able to build that ambiance.
Oh gosh, man! Okay, so I played Alien Isolation, when I had my PlayStation camera, and I don't know if you've played Alien Isolation, but if you played it on Xbox or PS4, and I think if you had a headset on PC, if you talked or breathed or your phone went off while you had one of those connected, the alien could actually hear it.
Oh, that's crazy. I know I have not yet. I haven't played. I haven't. There's a few like Dead Space is another one that I haven't played that
Oh,
I've heard really good things about. I don't know if those two are similar or not, but
Dead
definitely on my list.
Dead Space is like old school Resident Evil in space. It's amazing.
You can't beat that, huh?
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's up there with top horror games, to be honest with you. It's really hard to get me interested in, like, I play almost all the horror games that come out, but there's very few that resonate with me. Dead Space is definitely one of them that did. So I definitely check it out if you get a chance, man.
I
Um,
definitely will for sure.
so just to let people know who are PlayStation 4 players that are not planning to upgrade, Eric Limpel said that there's still a lot to come for people on PS4. There's still a ton of life left in that product. So you don't upgrade to the PlayStation 5, don't worry, you're still going to be playing stuff. Same thing with Xbox, man. If you don't get the Series X, there's still going to be games coming out for you. You don't have to feel like you need to rush. If money's an issue, especially right now with everything that's going on, you're out of work or whatever, you just don't have the extra cash, you don't have to feel the need to rush into these new consoles. You will still be getting games. You may not have the exact same experience because of the, enhancements of the consoles and then the controllers themselves, but you will still be able to get these good stories that you want to play. A lot of the games we talked about from the showcase are coming out on Xbox One as well as Series X and PC. So, I mean, you will be good. There's still plenty of stuff for you guys to play. Do not feel forced into buying a new console if you are not able to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like that should be super reassuring, honestly, because it's just one of those things, and everything new is coming out on PS5. You're like, oh, I want to play that. I want to play that. At least there's still potentially going to be a PS4 version of those games that, yeah, maybe it's not as good because of the lack of the controller and the system differences, but the game itself will still be the game. So
Yes.
it's not like somebody who's played it on PS5 is like, oh, but you played it on PS4, so it's not the same. Like, I hardly think that that's like gonna be a real problem.
I really hope not, man. So kind of just to give you all a few examples, the Medium, one of the games we talked about earlier, it is Series X and Windows only. It is not coming to Xbox One, but the Phantasy Star Online expansion is coming to Xbox One, Series X, and PC. And then for PlayStation, so the Miles Morale DLC or not, hold on, wait, let me rephrase that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Standalone expansion is going to be coming to PS4 and PlayStation 5. However, the new Ratchet and Clank game will only be PlayStation 5 because Insomniac has said this is not possible with the hardware in the PlayStation 4. The way you drop in and out of dimensions and stuff like that is only possible because of the PlayStation 5. If they built that game on the PlayStation 4, it would be completely different. So there will be exclusives to each one of these new consoles, but the majority of games you will be able to play on current gen. So
yeah, and that's gonna happen. That's understandable.
Yeah.
Especially, but I mean, honestly, if anything, that tells you how good that game is going to be.
Dude,
If
SSDs.
it's literally, yeah, exactly. It's impossible to do on a PlayStation 4. So that's like the other end of the spectrum. It's all the games that are capable to be on either or um, could potentially fall somewhere between the two in quality, whereas a game like that that's only coming out to the PS5 and is only capable to be played by a PS5 or Xbox Series X, whichever it is, or both, right? Is it on both?
Yes. Which one?
Yeah,
Sorry.
the Ratchet and Clank.
It is just on PlayStation 5.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so then you have that understanding that it's literally tailor made for that system, and it's
just like
too good. It's too good to be on the old one. So
yeah, just like
Hellblade,
just like Hellblade 2. So it's designed specifically for that system. So you can really, like you were saying earlier, you will get the full experience from that game that you were supposed to get because it is made to fully utilize all that hardware that the new console is going to have. I mean, so while we're kind of talking about hardware and stuff, you kind of want to drop into some specs real quick.
Yeah, so we have they're actually pretty close. I was
They are.
surprised that they were so close. It almost makes you wonder if they were like, "Hey, what are you guys doing that's like affordable enough to do to build a console around and like what's you know what I mean? Because it seems like they're competing, but it seems like they're almost kind of stuck at the same spot. You know what I mean?
Well, I feel like that's a good thing though for developers at least because with the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, that was a huge issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we kind of started to bridge that gap with the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. They were a lot more similar. I mean, the architecture on the PlayStation 3 was just so off the wall And I mean, it was great, but it took so long to learn how to fully utilize it. Not a lot of developers did, because you had everything separated and all that. Whereas with the 360, it was all, here you go, do what you want. You know what I mean? There was really no need to take a course on how to, you know, fully utilize the power it had.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. They both have they're both based off the AMD Zen 2 CPUs with 8 cores. So they essentially have the same amount of power. The PS5 touts 10.28 teraflops, and the Xbox Series comes in a little bit higher at 12 teraflops. But they're both native 4K. The disk drives are both 4K Blu-ray.
mm-hmm.
The Xbox has a little bit more storage space at 1 terabyte versus the 825 gigs that the PlayStation 5 touts. But
So,
besides that, they you know, it's really comparable. The one thing that I do think is pretty awesome, and I didn't see anything about this for the Xbox yet, but the expandable storage for the PS5 is an NVMe SSD slot. So not only is what you currently have in your system an SSD, what you add on to it will also be SSD.
yes.
So that's much better than getting, you know, a regular hard drive on that. Everything should still come out just as quickly for your games that are on the expandable storage versus the regular
So,
in console storage.
so from my understanding, because I feel like I heard a little bit about this, like a little, well, not like a long time ago, but like a little bit ago. The PS5 is going to use a custom external that you can plug in, and then the
Hmm.
Xbox is going to allow you to plug, like any brand of SSD into it. From my understanding, do not hold me to that, but I believe that is what I saw. So kind of makes me sad that PlayStation's going that route, because I feel like with the Vita, they had that custom memory you had to get, and it was so hard to find and
Hmm.
super expensive. And I hope that that is not the case with the PlayStation 5 for those who are getting it. Um, because being able to just go online and buy an SSD is going to be a hell of a lot easier than having to buy some kind of proprietary thing. Um,
Yeah, and one of the things that I thought was pretty cool, and this might be for the Xbox as well, but I only saw it on the list for the PlayStation 5, was having that external storage through USB, and
yes.
it's got a high definition, HDD support, but it is PlayStation 4 games only.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have your PlayStation 4 games taking up your SSD space. Since I'd imagine the newer games will start taking up only more and more space
I'm
as time goes on and they get more crammed into the space allotted. But being able to have that handy and, you know, even just kind of have your games on a big USB and then be able to share those with your friends and whatever else. It's kind of a cool idea.
So that's kind of how the PlayStation 4 is right now. You can save
Hmm.
your games to an external, but you can't save like your themes, your music, or anything like that. Your
Hmm.
save files, none of that. It's specifically for your games. So I think they kind of took that and kind of made it a little bit better, like you were saying, you know. And then Xbox is, you know, I believe the same way, if I'm not mistaken. You can store all of your games. I think you can just back up your whole system to an external with the Xbox, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. Um, so with backwards compatibility, the Series X is gonna have the backwards compatibility that the Xbox One has, plus some, from my understanding. And then they've not really said a whole lot about the PlayStation 5 other than PS4 games. There's been some speculations and some patents that have been circulating that possibly cloud based backwards compatibility for the PlayStation 5, but nothing has been set in concrete from my understanding. Um,
Um, could you imagine just playing your PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, maybe even PlayStation 1 games on your
bro,
PlayStation 5?
I,
Oh,
I got
just
so.
the sheer ability to go back and play through all of our favorite games without having to bust out our consoles that are in the attic or garage or
Yes.
wherever they are. You know what I mean? And not have to take up another, you know, another space in your entertainment center or whatever or what have you.
Yeah, I've got so
Oh,
many Metal
I
Gear Solid games, man, that I'm just itching to play again. Like,
yeah, so I'm definitely waiting to hear more about that for sure.
so one thing you mentioned this, the memory difference on the SSD on the console base. The PlayStation one is, let's see, 825 gigs, whereas the Xbox is a terabyte.
Mhm.
Um, I'm wondering if they are only allowing 825 gigs because the rest of it is set aside specifically for like system updates and stuff.
Mm. Yeah, it could be.
Like I've not heard either way, but I'm curious if that's the case because that wouldn't be a bad move to be honest with you. Like, that's something that console users, I mean even PC users have to worry about is like, when you have your Windows updates or your system updates, having that free space available. If you just have like a dedicated 175 gigs specifically for system updates for the life of the console, I mean, there's no way I mean, I couldn't see it going past that personally for an OS, but I mean, I don't know. It might be a smart move. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
Um, let's see. Like you said, both 4K Blu-ray drives, which is great. Um, I mean, I feel like we've covered just about everything on the specs there. Um, I don't really want to get into which is better because, like I said earlier, it doesn't really matter, man. As long as you're playing and you're enjoying it, that's what matters. So I think,
Yeah, and I think that's the whole point of these systems being comparable to people's basic PCs. Like you know what I mean? It makes it a little bit more of a level playing field. So I mean, people that are playing on PC, don't really have much to hold over the console players' heads. And then with both being so similar in specs, there's not really, it's really comes down to preference. And like I said, it's almost as if they had a conversation. They both sent him a messenger to a third party location and sat down and discussed how they would go about designing their systems and what they would have as far as capabilities. So and it could also just be on on a logistical standpoint as far as being able to like cost, you know what I mean, as
yeah,
far as what they're willing to put in as far as how expensive this technology is, and more bang for their buck as far as what they're gonna put in versus what people are gonna be paying and profit margins and all that good stuff. So I think them keeping them relatively close is a really good thing, and I think that just the consoles in general for this generation are just already comparable to computers. So hopefully that dies down as time goes on.
oh yeah, yeah. Like I'm hoping, like, I mean, cross play and cross progression have become more and more of a thing, here
Mm-hmm.
recently, and I love it because we can all play together. Um, I mean, there's just a ton of availability for gamers to come together, and I hope that this is, like you said, a step in the right direction for that. You know what I mean? Like there's really going to be, hopefully in the future, no difference, and we'll see. I guess only time will tell, but I mean that's what it looks like. It really does.
Yeah, I agree. And it'll be nice to see consoles go more in the direction of you being able to do anything on the console, because that's really the only argument between console and PC is that the PC has, innumerable different uses comparatively.
Yeah,
But as these systems start to gain more capabilities, someday you might be plugging in a mouse and keyboard or using a wireless mouse and Xbox keyboard, you know what I mean, or PlayStation mouse, So we'll
yeah.
see.
I mean, it's
Um,
definitely possible because right now it's very limited on the games that are mouse and keyboard compatible. So
uh-huh.
on console, obviously. On PC, you can play
Yeah.
whatever you want with mouse and keyboard.
I've seen people using DDR pads. I've seen all sorts of things on PC. So,
Yeah, Guitar Hero
uh,
controllers. I mean, you name it,
yeah,
man.
exactly.
So one thing, man, it's kind of close to my heart that I wanted to talk about. When I was growing up, I watched a little channel that some of y'all might be aware of, G4 TV. which, you know, some years back now, got shut down, and Esquire took over the network. The other day, there was a tweet sent out. Love my Twitter. That's where I get all my gaming information because it normally happens there first before anywhere else. Um, there was a tweet
Yeah, so
sent out.
if you're out there watching this video and you don't follow us on Twitter, I don't know
Do
what
it.
you're doing.
Do it.
Do it now.
Do it. Those links are going to be in the description. Give us both a follow. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to talk about next.
Yeah, pretty much where we do all of our conversing and stuff. So definitely a good idea to do that.
Yep.
I didn't mean to interrupt you though.
Oh, no. You're good. You're good, man. You're good. I mean, honestly, Twitter is where it's at for gaming. And, like, when I saw this tweet, I was ecstatic because G4 is coming back in 2021. 2021, we're getting G4 again. I mean, I used to sit there and watch Attack of the Show, Web Soup. I mean,
oh yeah, I loved it. I probably one of my hardcore favorites was American Ninja Warrior. Now I know you can watch it. You can watch it. I think on something like it's
like NBC or something. It's not the same though.
But it's not the same as watching it in between an episode of Cheatin' Cinematech. You know what I mean?
Or Code Monkeys. Oh
yeah, Code Monkeys.
So
yeah, I loved. I think Attack of the Show is definitely one of the big ones. And Cinematech had a midnight block version that was Cinematech Nocturnal Emissions. And I don't know, just something about it, something about the name being so raunchy and me being so young. It just felt like I was kind of like a part of the adult world for a little bit. You know what I mean? And you know, it showed so many trailers and so many like cutscenes and stuff from games that like I had never seen before, and I would probably never play because they were overseas. But it was really interesting to see such a wide variety of gaming culture in one place, and I hope that it really does come, and I hope that it does. I hope that it does. You know, I hope it's received well. I'm a little worried about it potentially being on the Peacock streaming site because I don't know. I don't know if G4TV is gonna be. Yeah, I don't know if G4TV is gonna be
like its own channel again, or
yeah, or if it'll even be worth subbing to Peacock for. I don't know what else is on Peacock. I have to do some research to see if it's even.
I totally forgot that launched, man. To be honest with you.
Yeah. No one talks about it. That's what makes me worry. You know what I mean? It's not exactly a well-known streaming site, so I feel like that's probably it's either going to be its own thing or it's going to be something that lands on that subscription service. And I don't know, that kind of worries me. I'd much rather see it go on its own because I think people would be okay with paying. I think if there was enough to it, people would be okay with paying for it as a subscription, just like Netflix or their Hulu or whatever.
If I could have all the original G4 content, all right, plus new content, I would pay for it.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I wonder too. Are they going to take the recordings from the old episodes and are they going to upload them there so that we can appreciate them again? Now, I think that would probably be the most intelligent. I mean, they have to do that. You know what I mean?
They would have to, man. They would have to because I know there's so many people like us that have such fond memories of watching, you know, gameplay trailers first announced like on their shows. And I mean, I even watched the Wolverine and the Iron Man animes on G4 like for the first time, like back, you know, in the day. Like that's where I watched them. Like I don't know. So who would you want to come back host wise? Like, do you have a favorite host? Or
Olivia Munn's obviously coming
obviously
back. There's no way.
She's got to.
She's literally, unless she's just like, no, honey, I don't want to do it. Like, they're literally the owner of, and now I'm gonna forget now, but she's dating the son of the original owner or the person who bought it out, I believe, one of the two. Okay. So I mean, realistically, she can't not come back to it. She's gonna be a star, and I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know if it's maybe just something it's a past chapter in her life that she doesn't want to bring back or whatever. Who knows? But I think that it would definitely be a mistake not to bring Olivia Munn back because I mean I'm sure she was many people's first crush.
Oh yeah, yeah.
for
I
sure.
mean,
So
yeah. Like, let's be honest, man. There's a ton of us out there that are in that boat. So, I'll be honest. One person that I'm kind of iffy about coming back, and I hope I don't get flack for this, but I may. Adam Sessler. He's become really salty over the years, man.
I mean, look what he went through with the original G4 TV, though.
I
I mean, look
mean,
how it
that's
was so
true.
bad. It's like the G4 TV didn't just die. It like went from being good to being just straight horrible and then crash and burn, and they gutted everything. They made it to where there was no funding for anything. Like it was pretty rough if you
Yeah,
looked into the history of how it all went down and how it how it fell from grace essentially. But I don't know. I definitely understand where he's coming from as far as being salty. I mean, I don't know what other parts of his career progressed that saltiness besides the G4 stuff, but I mean, just the G4 stuff on its own feels like it might have been enough.
that's
So
that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I get that. I'd be salty too. I mean, I can't say I wouldn't be. I mean, honestly, I'd be pretty salty. That's if they. Okay, I hope it is self-funded. I hope it is not owned by a network that is going to be able to pull strings about what can and can't be aired, what budgets are, and stuff like that. I hope that is all up to their discretion and kind of, like I said, self funded. Like, I think that would be the best way to go about bringing it back. I mean, obviously, this is all speculation. Nobody knows how this is going to happen except for them. You mentioned the Peacock thing, which I didn't even think about. Here in like my notes, I literally have a new channel completely or a weekend special on Esquire from like noon to 3. That's what I was thinking. Like that's the path I was thinking about it. I didn't even think about freaking Peacock. So
right, yeah. I mean, who knows? It's really it really could go any way. That's just the I believe that's just the because it's NBC, right? It's
yeah,
NBC, so it's their streaming service. So I would
it's
imagine
like
that
their
if they still
Sling
have
or
ownership of it
Philo.
and it's in the Comcast Corporation, then you know what I mean. They're just gonna put it where they can, essentially, put it where it fits, and it may or may not fit on that. I don't know. Like I said, I know very little to nothing about Peacock, and it's something that I'm gonna keep an eye on.
Well, I
Because
mean, as
if they start accumulating other series and other shows that people enjoy, it might flourish.
yeah,
In a world of Netflix, Hulu, and HBO, they might actually become a contender with this. It's possible, so who knows?
I feel like a lot of gamers use a lot of streaming services for their show watching and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
it very well may fit into that category of being on Peacock. That may be the thing that drives their sales. To be honest with you,
Yeah, I
like,
mean, I definitely don't need another subscription service, but it's going to be hard to say no to Peacock if G4 TV does end up being on it. So,
and they've got all of their backlog. I mean, 100%.
yeah.
So, want to take the last little bit of this podcast to kind of talk about a couple games that are in beta access right now that I believe we've both had the pleasure of playing one of them, and then I've had the pleasure of playing the alpha and the beta for the other. So let's start off with Rogue Company, which is the new game by Hi-Rez. It is a third-person team tactical shooter. Now you have played the closed beta, correct?
Yep. This is actually my first tactical shooter. And because of this game, I went ahead and downloaded Valorant to try that as well. I haven't tried that yet to compare because I really wanted to compare it to other tactical shooters and see how much that genre actually has to offer, laterally. But Rogue Company was really interesting. I felt like the characters weren't as exciting to pick from. I felt like they had a lot of the perks kind of overlapped, and maybe that's not too weird of a thing. Like I said, my experience is really limited with tactical shooters, especially hero-based tactical shooters.
Like Overwatch or
Um,
something.
yeah, or like Valorant as an example, because I'm not sure if I'd really call Overwatch a tactical
No,
shooter.
I
I'm not
just
sure what it's called. It's
I
more
just
like a
meant as far
competitive
as the
shooter or whatever.
heroes go.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a lot of flavor from hero to hero, but I did I landed on Ronin, and I pretty much haven't played anybody else unless I've had to since, because that knife is like so fun. I've had so much fun just like putting that knife somewhere, walking the other way, and then getting a double knock just from two people going around a corner and ramming into my knife and having it explode. So there, I feel like Ronin's good. I feel like there's a lot of like personality to that. But I'm not necessarily sure I felt like the other characters had as much personality. I mean, being able to sense the closest enemy to you and stuff, I forget the guy's name, but the other character that does that is pretty cool. And then the tanky guy was pretty cool. You know, you could build up armor and stuff on him. And I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I enjoyed it enough to want to try another tactical shooter, considering it's not really my genre. But I thought it was a pretty fun idea. It was, you know, early. There's a lot of maps. I
Yes.
felt like the excessive amount of maps, in my opinion, made it difficult for me to learn, because a lot of these games are completely based around maps and playing the map properly and playing the map well and knowing where your LOS is and what you can, you know, who you can hit from where, and getting the jump on people and rotating properly and stuff like that. So I felt like it was pretty difficult in the like 10 to 12 games that I had played. I'd played maybe, it feels like I played like 8 maps in that period of
There's
time. So it
about
was hard.
8, so that sounds
Oh,
about right.
yeah,
So,
okay. So I definitely felt like it was a little bit rough in that regard for a new player, but I also don't know if that's just because I'm new to tactical shooters in general. But I definitely found it interesting enough. It piqued my interest enough to try another tactical shooter. So I'll be interested to see how it does and where it goes from here.
yeah, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts after you've played Valorant to see like which one you kind of prefer, because with third person shooters obviously there's a whole nother aspect of, like you were saying, those angles, you finding that angle to where you can see somebody but they can't see you, whereas with first person tacticals you have to put your body there. You
Yeah.
can't hide behind a corner and see somebody, really. You have to put yourself out there. um but
Yeah, and a lot of games that and I can't think of, there's something that I can't think of right now, but you can emote, usually use like an emote or something, and then it puts you into a third person view, and then you can
yes.
see around corners that way.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what game does that a lot.
um
But that's definitely a thing to consider, and I wonder if that'll be a thing in other tactical shooters or whatnot. But
yeah.
yeah, so far, I mean, I thought it was fun. I played it and I enjoyed my time playing it. I'll tell you, like I said, I'll have to do more, you know, I'll have to play more tactical shooters to give a real point of view as far as its comparison to other ones. But overall, I had a really good time. I enjoyed it. I thought the jumping out of the back of the jet, or the hover jet or whatever, and being able to like kind of choose where you land, and then being able to go a certain direction while they could see you, because you can see your opponents
Yes.
across the
I
map
love
coming
that you can
down.
see the
So
trails.
it like you see the trails, and it's like, oh, three of them are going left, one of them's going right, and then all of them end up on one side where the one guy was supposed to be. So then you end up getting rolled, and there's a lot of like uh, there's a lot of tactics involved with that, because you don't want to give away which way you're going, but like maybe you want to go one way and fake
It's
them out, or
almost
maybe
like
you
playing
need to
poker.
actually go. Yeah, maybe you actually need to go that way so that you can get to the objective faster, or whatever the case may be. And I think that, yeah, very much so, kind of like poker face. Like, am I going this way? Are we actually going this way? Or are we doing this? Or are we doing that? And I think that it kind of puts you in a position where you need to be very cautious, even more so cautious than normal, when you make assumptions
Oh yeah,
about
yeah.
which way that your team and the opposing team need to go.
So for me, the rogue that I find myself maining most of the time is Saint. And that's kind of odd for me because I normally don't play medics. I'm normally
Hmm.
a DPS guy. Like in MMOs, I'm DPS. Like in Final Fantasy, when I played it, I played Dragoon, which I believe I told you when I was watching you play Final Fantasy the other day. But like I'm a DPS guy. Like that's
Hmm.
what I do. In Overwatch, I play Junkrat. I'm not playing Mercy. I'm playing Junkrat. You know what I'm saying? Like That's just not me. So for me to be able to play Saint, enjoy him, and to do decent is saying something. Like, honestly, it's kind of a big deal to me because I don't play healers and I'm good with him. I love that remote heal because I can be taking care of business on this side of the map and one of my buddies go down on the side, boop, just throw that drone up. Hopefully they don't get KO'd by the time my
Yeah.
drone gets over there. But I mean,
Yeah,
just
and there's a shield on it too, if I'm not mistaken. It's very lifeline-esque, right?
it is very
There is a bit of a shield aura around the person being healed. So even if they are getting like popped a little bit, it still buys you a little bit of time to actually get up. I'm pretty sure was shooting at somebody who was being rezzed by that, and it was like a shield effect. I could be wrong, and it could have just looked that way, but
there.
um,
It's definitely very closed beta, man. And I was in the alpha for Rogue Company, um,
mhm.
and I feel like it actually ran smoother in alpha than it does in closed beta. To be 100% honest with you, um, like
Interesting. What do you have any particular reasonings why you feel that way?
so a lot of like it's mainly just like guns disappearing. I've seen quite a few times where a player has been in a downed animation, but they're still shooting. Like if you're spectating them, just like
Hmm.
weird stuff like that. I know Oxy, she's been playing it on Switch. And she gets kicked from games a lot on Switch for some reason. I haven't had that issue on
That's unfortunate.
PlayStation 4 as much, knock on wood, but um, it's just it's weird, man. Like even the differences from the Switch version to the PlayStation 4 version is pretty like substantial. So I'm glad they're doing a closed beta so they can kind of like zero in on these bugs and get them fixed before the full launch because I think if they can do that, it really will hold a flame to other tactical shooters. Like it will definitely be a force to be reckoned with. As far as I know, it won't be launching with a competitive mode, which is kind
I
of
think that's kind
odd.
of well, yeah. I definitely think that in this time period of every game that comes out has to have a competitive mode because it needs to be in esports, especially for a tactical shooter to not be immediately out the gate jumping on esports seems a little sus to me. But I almost wonder if they want to make sure that all of the bugs and stuff are out of their game and they want it to be played by as many people as possible before doing that. Like I could see that being the reason, and I can understand that, but I still think it might be a mistake and might cost them a lot of potential player base.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Now, one thing, I mean, this is high res we're talking about, so we're talking
Hmm.
cross progression, and this game is going to be free to play when it launches full. You can buy the Founders Pack on like all platforms right now, and that will get you access to the closed beta. Or you can purchase it once you have closed beta access. I apologize, and that will give you some extra skins and help support the game if that's what you're into. But it does support cross purchase. So, for instance, I own it on the PS4, and because I own it on the PS4, I can just go to the Rogue Company website, link my PlayStation account to my Nintendo account, and I have that game on the Switch. Same thing with PC. You can do the same thing.
Yeah,
So
and
it
that's very nice,
like
especially if you do like to play or don't necessarily have a preference, and maybe you want to play a little bit before bed, and you got a TV in your room set up and a PlayStation, and you want to still keep playing the game, but you don't want to have to worry about starting from scratch. I think that's definitely a positive for sure.
which I mean they implemented that, and I know you said you've been playing a little bit of Smite here recently and stuff. So I mean
Hmm.
I've not really played any Smite. I've watched people play Smite. I know very little about it, but I know that is a big thing for high res to do cross progression, um, and cross purchase. So I think that's pretty cool. The one thing you should know is if you buy any premium, that is locked to the platform you purchase it on. So if you buy like, $10 worth of premium, that's locked on that platform. But if you purchase a new rogue, once that rogue is unlocked, you will have access to that rogue on all the other platforms you play. So kind of like Fortnite. If anybody who's listening watches or plays Fortnite, you know your V Bucks are locked on the platform you purchase them on, but anything you purchase with those V Bucks is accessible across everything you play it on. That's linked. So it's a
Yeah, it's
nice.
fair. I mean, I think that's understandable.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
that's totally understandable because you know, I mean, the platforms that you play on need to make their money somehow, and I get that. So I mean, but they're not being like, ha ha ha, you can't use this. Nah, you can use
Right.
it. Like, I mean, that's fair. I'm totally okay with that. So overall, I've really been enjoying it as well. Like you said, we need to get together and play sometime, man. Because we haven't had a chance to play the beta together. So whenever you're
Yeah,
free,
I've only played one night. We'll definitely have to figure out some time to play together. But I think that brings us to our last game of today's
yes,
podcast, and
yes.
that is Fall Guys. So what do you think?
Okay, so anybody who is not familiar, which I know Fall Guys has kind of been a little bit more hyped up here recently because they've been having their closed beta and stuff, and they've been giving out Steam keys left and right. Like this past weekend, they did a 48-hour closed beta like event weekend. And literally on their Twitch channel, they were putting up Steam keys every 15 seconds on the screen for people to get keys. Like
That's
it's
crazy.
yeah, like it's been getting pretty popular here recently, and there's still a lot of people that are trying to get into it. But for anybody who's not familiar with the game, think Wipeout, like the TV show, meets the Marbles game from Steam. So
Yeah, I
it's
definitely when you so you told me so you had put me onto this game and I hadn't seen anything about it, but it's exactly what you told me. And when I started watching more on it, I was like, wow, that's like like it's a really oddly specific combination, but it's literally what it is. It's like
and
a
it
VR
works.
version of those things smashed together. And it honestly is just super interesting. There's so many different like there's so many different I'm not sure exactly what they're called, but maps. And different like modes, with the different ways to go from here to there and the different obstacles and stuff like that. And there's differences between whether it's an elimination or a um the first 10 people get to the end versus anybody that doesn't make it
Yeah.
loses. Like there's the parts where the ooze will come up behind the players as they go through the obstacles, and anyone that falls too far behind gets eliminated.
Yep.
And then there's the version of only the first 35 people that get to the end move on to the next round. And I
Of
think that's
going.
interesting
Yeah.
because it allows it to be a little different and allows them to do different things with the maps.
It's enough
Um,
like small mini games to keep things interesting. Like there's one where you all start with the tail, or like half of you start with the tail or something like that, and the objective is to take the other person's tail, and then if you lose your tail, you have to try to get a tail back from somebody else, and it actually splits the player base up into like four teams. And then at the end of the timer, you know, whatever teams, you know, once they get KO'd, like once all of those teams lose their tail, they're KO'd, and that's how they eliminate. Like it's really interesting how they kind of separate and make it different, like you said.
Yeah, and one of the things that stood out too is that there was one mode where there was like I believe there was 9 people left, and they ended up playing soccer against each other. It was a little unfair because one team had 5 players and one team had 4, but they're literally these. You got these two balls, and it's almost really remind me of like Rocket League, but you're this little bird bean character that's hobbling and trying to jump and dive into this ball and make it into the opposite team's goal. And I think there's just so much possibility, and the customization of the individual player's
Fall
character
Guys,
is
yeah.
really cool. Yeah, your Fall Guy, you can, make it a different design, and then you can make it a different color, and then you can make it a different. I saw a bunch of people in like wolf costumes,
Yeah, that's
and
like the
I think,
costume for the beta right now is the wolf costume.
yeah, I think it's crazy because it leaves so much room for uh, I know people hate microtransactions, but like every game has to feed its dev team. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think especially them only being appearance based is you can't really fault them for that. You know what I mean?
And a
And I
lot of
think
that
that
stuff
it's a great
is in-game
okay.
currency unlocked. So you'll go through the
Oh,
battle
okay.
pass and you'll get this in-game currency, and you get the in-game currency from completing matches as well, and that's how you can buy your costumes in the shop. Um, so the shop is closed right now for beta, and it was closed in alpha
Hmm.
as well. So I mean, it could come into some premium currency type stuff at some point. But where the shop's closed, we're not 100% sure. It's just costumes were unlocked in the alpha. I actually have my
Oh,
Fall Guy
okay.
set up as a cheeseburger. Um, so you can choose the top half of your Fall Guy, the bottom half of your Fall Guy, and then the pattern, and then the color. So it's actually pretty in depth, like you were saying. Like I had a cheeseburger and the alpha, and there was like some French fries you could be, and like a soda. There was an astronaut. I mean, it was all kinds of stuff. Like my top
And
half
how
was a
much is it?
cheeseburger, and the bottom half was an astronaut. I don't know how much it is yet.
Yeah, that's what I was curious. Because if there's no microtransactions, I'm wondering, or at least not at this point yet, it makes me really wonder what the model's going to be. If it is going to be just an upfront, here, pay $10 and pay 10, $20, whatever, and now you can enjoy the game, or if it's going to be based on microtransactions. And I kind of wonder if they're feeling it out using the battle pass to see how much people are trying to grind for that specific thing, or if there'll be a purchasable battle pass like there is in some other games where there's a free portion, but then you get much more if you have the paid battle pass plus upgraded versions of stuff you get from the free version.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting to see what they decide to do at full release. I do know the game is up on Steam. Like there's a Steam page for it. I don't know if there's a cost associated with it yet, but like I said, they did do that 48-hour beta weekend this past weekend, and they're supposed to be doing one next week and as well. So anybody who's interested and you're playing on PC, I definitely recommend checking that out. Um, you can follow them on Twitter. They give out keys on there. They were actually giving out keys for people making memes the other day. Like they
Gotta love a community manager that appreciates a good meme.
exactly, man. He was like, everybody's making memes. I'm gonna pick my top 10 favorites, and they're getting keys. And I'm like, hey, man, that works. So, but no, I mean,
Right.
it's pretty solid, man. From what I've played of it, and I've it's different. That's for sure. It is literally just dumb fun. Like I don't know any other way to put it. It's dumb, silly fun, and but it's a game that you will get frustrated at times because there's one where you're running from, like you were saying, point A to point B, start to finish, and you're going across these wheels that are going in different directions, and there's gaps between them, so you have to like time your jump to get to the next one, and then you got people that can like grab you and like pull you back, and it's like there's so many different little aspects of the game that make it different and fun, but frustrating. So
Yeah, agreed. I think everybody could use a little silly fun in their life.
oh, for sure. Because, like you were saying, man, I feel like a lot of games nowadays are definitely focused on becoming competitive almost immediately. Um, and it's kind of nice to not have that in a game, to be honest. Like, I don't know. Silly fun is good fun. Back in the day,
Yeah, agreed.
that's what games were made for, was to have fun. And I definitely feel like, in the past 10, 15 years, gaming in general has definitely gone in that direction, to a more competitive side. So I do want to touch on one more thing before we end the episode. You mentioned Rocket League earlier, and for anybody who does not know, Rocket League is going free to play this summer. And if you already own the game, and you have played it before it goes free to play, you get a load of premium items for free. You get decals, wheels, trails. You get like an exclusive like player banner. I mean, it's all kinds of stuff that you get just if you've played the game before it goes free to play this summer. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick and let you all know that, just in case you missed that information. But yeah, I really appreciate you all joining us. Tsuki, I had a great time doing this, man. I can't wait to do next week's. Make sure you let us know in the comments below what you would like for us to kind of talk about. Let us know what you thought of the episode. what's your opinion on the next gen consoles? Yeah, I mean,
Which one are you going to be picking? That's what I want to know.
yeah,
I want to see him. I want to see how the viewer base is split between PlayStation and Xbox, because that allows us to get a little bit more information. Or if you guys are part of the PC master race, you know what I mean. There's a lot out there in gaming culture for us to cover, and I think that as much information as we can get on what we can provide our audience, the better. So
oh
thank you
yes.
guys. Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yep. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed, and if you didn't, you can give it a thumbs down. It'll make me kind of sad, I'm not gonna lie, but I want to know feedback because we want to make this the best that we possibly can. So thank you all again for joining us, and we will see you again next week. And this has been MGS Poner and Tsuki. So peace, y'all.
See ya.